The protagonist is the president of the Adventurer Guild. Please leave a comment at the end of each chapter to make a choice for the protagonist. Received unexpected support. Kneel down and thank you all. The personal notes of the employees were written in the relevant section of the work. You may not be able to see it in QQ Reading or Bookstore. The author may overlook the choices made through channels other than app reviews. I am deeply sorry for this and will try my best to be attentive. Thank you to everyone for tipping. The author was greatly flattered. Keywords of the novel. Interactive Novel Adventurer Guild without pop-ups, Interactive Novel Adventurer Guild TXT Complete Collection Download, Interactive Novel Adventurer Guild Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1 Suspension Chapter 11. Newly Appointed President. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1.1. Newly appointed President Hathaway pointed to the first portrait and said, "The first president was an S-class retired adventurer and a great hero in my heart. He taught me a life philosophy. Only strong power can win freedom and glory. Listen up, bow your head, flipped through the information in hand." The first president was arrested by the guards for drawing his sword while drunk, murdering 2 citizens and insulting a virtuous woman, and ultimately died of illness in prison. At the end of the data page, there are several lines of elegantly written notes. The 3 victims have nothing to do with the president. The wounds of the deceased are suspected to be caused by a dagger. After the president was arrested, his iconic weapon, the strong acid-enchanted 2-handed giant sword, was missing. A few days before the incident, the president punched and broke the nose bridge of the guard captain. After a pause, Hathaway pointed to the second portrait and said, "The second president is a wealthy businessman and an important mentor in my life. He taught me a life philosophy. No matter what, only by seizing the opportunity can we achieve complete victory and stability. Listen up, bow your head, flipped through the information in hand. The second generation president was assassinated on his own bed. A piece of parchment was pasted on his body's face, with the words "Ignorance is blessings" written in blood. There are also several lines of elegant notes at the end of the page. On the day of the incident, all the documents in the chief's secret room were set ablaze. The morning after the incident, the market held a much larger harvest festival than in previous years, which was half a month earlier. Before the president's death, the market experienced a Great Depression, and after the president's death, the number of unemployed people in the market decreased by 85%. After a pause, Hathaway turned her head and gave you a somewhat comforting smile, pointing to the third portrait and saying, "The former president was a devout clergyman and a close friend whom I should always respect and cherish. At a young age, her talent, upbringing, demeanor, and resilience are all the best. She is simply a rare gem in the world. She taught me a life philosophy. To live noble and to die noble. She is also the only president who is still alive," Hathaway added with a look of happiness in her eyes. Listen up, bow your head, flipped through the information in hand. The 3 generations president was the only daughter of the former count. Due to her father's family decline, she resigned and became a clergyman serving the goddess of pain in the church. The note at the end of the page appears somewhat sloppy. The count rebelled, the countess bathed herself in the blood of a virgin to maintain her youth, the president secretly met a man in the middle of the night with his betrothal partner behind his back, and refused a bribe from the parliament for the 5th time. All of these events happened one after another within a month. There was madness between the lines, but Hathaway's face was frozen with a smile. Peaceful and dignified. Hathaway pointed, "The 4th picture, it's also the last one. With only one blank frame. You ask Hathaway whose portrait this is. She replied to you, 'Your Excellency, the new president.' As a secretary like me, it is more difficult than organizing materials, uploading and distributing information, conducting research and advice, and conducting internal diplomacy. It is only after you are completely finished that you begin to hand-paint your portrait." She bit the word "finished" very clearly. The information in your hand shows that you are the fourth president of the Adventurer Guild, and Hathaway is a female secretary with outstanding work abilities. Her hobby is to write notes on official documents. It seems to be her only hobby. Regardless, this city always needs a competent Adventurer Guild president. What you need to do is very simple. Run an Adventurer Guild, transfer tasks related to healing monsters to adventurers, and you will receive intermediary fees. It seems that it cannot be simpler. Due to the former president's downfall, which almost completely dragged down the entire guild, your appointment to the position is actually almost like starting from scratch. You have a dilapidated guild hall, a poorly spoken female secretary, a D-level adventurer team with nowhere to go, and the lowest level is E. You don't have a receptionist. It's the kind of sweet and adorable girls who stand in front of the counter to deal with various specific tasks for adventurers, register new adventurers, recommend suitable tasks to suitable adventurers, and deliver rewards after confirming the completion of the tasks. As a president, the initial and most important job is to hire a receptionist. You go to the reception room. Hathaway will summon the young girls who have come to apply one by one and accept your interview. These 3 young girls are already the best and most experienced ones that Hathaway has tried her best to find. The first girl is from the Canine Ear tribe. Before sitting down, she habitually pushed her furry tail behind her waist with her hand, as if afraid of being accidentally pressed. It actually looks no different from humans, except for a pair of soft drooping ears and a tail about the length of the forearm. Hathaway held the information in her hand and asked the Canine Ear girl, "Excuse me, why are you applying for the position of receptionist for the Adventurer Guild?" Yes, they have always longed to become a true adventurer since they were young. To make up for their regrets, they believe that being a receptionist to support adventurers is also closer to their dreams. Why didn't you become an adventurer? They are not strong enough. After listening, Hathaway stood up and handed a few pages to the girl of the Canine Ear tribe, which contained details of the commission for last year's collection mission. Collect 3 moonlight grass plants deep in a forest. As an example of an interview, I would like to ask, may I ask, what level do you think such a task should be rated for? Yes, it should be level E. After carefully reading the information, the girl from the Canine Ear tribe confidently replied, "The main threat that this forest is dominated by is goblins. In this season last year, the number of goblins decreased sharply, and this forest is no exception. As a collection task, it can avoid encounters with monsters to the greatest extent possible, and it is judged that level E is appropriate. So, please take off all your clothes now." Hey! They refused. Well, it's just a joke. Lastly, do you have any job applications for a night shift secretary who earns 3 times the salary? I'm sorry, they just came to apply for the position of receptionist for the Adventurers Guild. The dog-eared tribe bowed and left the reception room to wait for the interview results. At the same time as she left, Hathaway handed you a more detailed file about collecting moonlight grass last year. It was positioned as a C-level mission because moonlight grass can only be collected at night, and Goblin is a nocturnal group creature with innate night vision ability. I went to a C-level adventurer team in a group of 5, but unfortunately, during the gathering process, I was ambushed by the elite Goblin expeditionary force mixed with strong orc guards. In the end, only 2 people survived. The second applicant is a fairy girl. She gently wrapped her loose long skirt in both hands and sat on the edge of the sofa in the reception room, her fingers intertwined as if they were nothing. Although her head did not rotate, her gaze drifted like a dragonfly skimming water in every corner of the room, and the stiffness of her shoulders and even her whole body even reached your side. Hathaway held the information in her hand and asked the elf girl, "Excuse me, why are you applying for the position of receptionist for the Adventurer Guild?" "I want to learn more about the stories of adventurers." The elf girl pushed her glasses and added, "I love reading books, I really enjoy legendary stories about adventure. Why not join the adventurers team? If you learn some magic." "No. The elf girl suddenly leaned out and interrupted, increasing her volume. No need, I think my knowledge can be helpful to others. Hathaway handed over the details of last year's task of collecting moonlight grass to the elf girl and requested to try to determine the appropriate level. The answer is level C. The elf girl added that as much as possible, E.level reconnaissance missions should be dispatched first, because moonlight grass is also a favorite of the demon race, and the possibility of encountering strong enemies unexpectedly cannot be ruled out. Excuse me, do you have any application preferences for a night shift secretary who earns 3 times the salary? No, I'm not very interested. So, Hathaway cleared her throat, please take off all your clothes. Ah. The elf girl trembled all over her body, reached out to block her chest, and asked in horror, why is this? Is it necessary? We have plenty of reasons. If you want to take it off immediately, otherwise please go out. Yes, I'm sorry. Gently sobbing, the elf girl began to bury her head and slowly take off her coat, obviously very unwilling. Hathaway suddenly spoke up and stopped, okay, I was just joking. You wait outside for the notification. Watching the bewildered and confused elf girl leave the reception room, Hathaway hands you a document. 3 years ago, this elf girl was just rescued from the clutches of the slave hunting team. The third applicant is a human. Do you mind if I smoke? This is the first sentence that the girl said while sitting on the sofa. A low-cut tight-fitting dress with exposed sides, purple-red silk, golden silk, smooth shoes, and a light bracelet. He is the same age as the previous 2, but he has a strange composure. Fair and slender arms, fair and slender jade fingers, white and long smoke, and white and long hair almost reaching the waist. Hathaway held the information in her hand and asked the human girl, excuse me, why are you applying for the position of receptionist for the Adventurer Guild? Ah, I'm short of money, and the work here is relatively simple, isn't it? Isn't there a better paying job with your conditions? The pampered young lady certainly doesn't understand how much that dirty job is. Terrible. Everyone is human and can stand, who wants to lie down, understand. Hathaway handed over the details of last year's task of collecting moonlight grass to the human girl, requesting to try to determine the appropriate level. The answer is level D. The reason is simple, the night is definitely more dangerous. So, please take off all your clothes now. Why? Are you fooling me? It's just a joke, Hathaway cleared her throat. Lastly, do you have any job applications for a night shift secretary who earns 3 times the salary? The human girl's soot fell on the carpet, and under the thick eyeshadow, for the first time, she could see the whole circle of dark eyes. She confirmed to Hathaway, what is this? Do you need special services? No, it's not related to bed, it's just that girls staying up late and working are not very good for their skin. Okay. The receptionist and secretary are not bad, are they? We will consider the reply again. Hathaway asked the human girl to wait outside the room. Hathaway looked at you and said, choose it. 1. Even if you only hire one, it may become a salaried idle job. They all have rich reception experience, and for our current situation, if you can find a candidate of this level, you should just wake up with a smile, and the sub-race. Hathaway seemed to remember something halfway through, then shrugged, not intending to correct it, and continued, it's cheaper. Choose 1 out of 3. You try to ask Hathaway for advice. Me. Hathaway gently handed the information about these 3 applicants to your hand. Do you want to know the life philosophy I have come to understand myself? Adventurers need to deal with monsters, Adventurer Guild leaders need to deal with humans, and secretaries need to deal with painters. Take risks on your own battlefield. The information of the 3 applicants is as follows. A girl from the Canine Ear tribe. Working at my parents' fish shop. She once wanted to become an adventurer, but was eventually discouraged by her parents, but her dream never died in her heart. Her parents took the initiative to find Hathaway. The note reads: "There is a tendency to underestimate the risk of commission. B. Elf Girl. Working at the Municipal Library. It is obvious that the implementation of the Slave Abolition Act issued by the Kingdom 10 years ago required more manpower and material resources, and she was saved a bit late." The note reads: "Deeply fearful of a tough attitude or threat. C. Human Girl. Working in a tavern. My father absconded with a huge debt and died mysteriously at her home the year before yesterday. She has done many jobs, including before reaching adulthood at the age of 15. The note reads: Position will be added with the word weak before temptation. Please leave a comment at the end of the chapter to make a choice. End of this chapter. Chapter 2 Light Chapter 12. Sleeping in the Office. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Light Chapter 1.2. Sleeping in the Office, a wise choice. Perhaps she won't be able to handle strong or aggressive adventurers well, but at least she won't be easily abducted by strange people. In the early stages, she can also lose some rookie adventurers. We can add other receptionists later to make up for her weaknesses. After Hathaway finished speaking, she stood up and went outside to inform her of the interview results. You will keep the elf girl named Fielden and she will officially start work tomorrow morning. Hathaway has gone to train Fullerton. There are many business situations that need to be explained, many precautions to be advised, and many preliminary work arrangements to be made. You went home, to be precise. I plan to sleep in the office of the president of the Adventurer Guild. Time flies by, and when Hathaway finally finished her work and came to the president's office to give a work report, you were also preparing to take a break. You're lying in bed, eh? I waved to Hathaway and told her that you wanted to hear more details about the report. In another way that made both of us happy. B. Tell Hathaway. The guild will reopen on the first day tomorrow, and you need to go to bed early. End of this chapter. Chapter 3 Delay Chapter 21. Newcomers who come to register. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Delay Chapter 2.1. Newcomers coming to register. You lifted the blanket and waved to Hathaway. Hathaway gives you the warmest, sweetest, most ambiguous, and most seductive smile to date. Dear President, please wait for me a moment. She blinked at you before exiting the office. You are eagerly waiting in bed, waiting, until waking up in the morning. I had no recollection of how long I had waited last night. A headache of insufficient sleep rushed in like a mountain and sea. You forcefully enter the working state, only to find that several personnel documents have been placed on your desk at some point. About the new receptionist Fielden, the previously unseen commissioned investigator Linda, and Hathaway herself. At the end of Hathaway's profile page, there is a note that it is clearly not Hathaway's font, but it should have been written by a well-educated woman with the word venomous tongue. Afterwards, there is a new note written by Hathaway herself. She has a high tolerance for lascivious fools like bacteria breeding. Anyway, the reopening of the Adventurer Guild on its first day will continue as scheduled. Ah. Eh. His eyes looked like inverted triangles, with a high-hanging tail and more white and less black eyes. In other words, he was a young man with a fierce gaze, paired with the common red hair of irritable people and a tall figure of 1.8 meters. He just opened his mouth and made a meaningless sound, which scared Fielden to the point of shrinking his neck and making strange noises. To be honest, the tall and handsome features of a young man may be considered handsome, but they are no longer important. To be honest, Fielden made every effort to give a polite business smile, but it was no longer important. The girl who came with him shouldered him. What are you talking nonsense to the receptionist lady? I haven't had a chance to say anything yet. Oh, this way, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. The girl bowed deeply to her companion. I thought you had finally created a new language, bringing together, can I use my tongue to wipe your glasses, into one sentence, The young man turned around and left. The girl immediately grabbed her companion's belt and stopped, saying, I was wrong. They stood together at the counter of Fullerton, formally applying to register as adventurers and answering questions one by one to register. Fullerton seems to have no hesitation about the reception work, except for hesitation. My name is Rachel, the girl introduced herself. She is about 1.7 meters tall, but still looks petite standing next to her companions. She was dressed in a coarse cloth robe, holding a wooden staff slightly taller than her, and her short hair was a common dark brown color. Rachel, is that right? Fullerton carefully registered and confirmed with the other party if the spelling was correct. Rachel nodded. I hope the registered position is for the back row caster, right? Rachel nodded. Based on personal privacy terms and our guild's permissions, we now request you to conduct an adventurer identification. You don't have to worry about privacy information being leaked, but our guild also has the right to keep more detailed information about your adventure confidential. Fullerton asked Rachel to place her hand on the identification crystal and continue registration. A level 1 mage has 3 level 0 spell positions and 1 level 1 spell position. Each newly registered adventurer needs to start from level E. Please refer to the adventurer's rules for specific precautions, and I will send it back to you later. May I ask if there is any problem? Rachel raised her hand and pointed to the tall boy next to her. Can't I team up with this guy? I'm very sorry, Fullerton explained with a slight bow. The guild rules require members to be around 4, or 3 to 5, when registering as a team. For safety reasons, only 2 people are not allowed to register as a team. Okay. Rachel pursed her lips. My name is Mersley, the tall boy introduced himself. Although not considered a muscular man, he is also very strong. He wears a simple vest-shaped composite layer tanned leather armor, holds a short spear in his right hand, and only has a left arm with an iron guard. No matter how you look at it, Maxley also appears very tall. Yes, it's called Mersley, isn't it? Fullerton panicked and buried her head to register the other person's name, then asked them to confirm if the spelling was correct. Ah. You wrote it right. Maxley was extremely surprised. Yes. I'm sorry, because it's a common name among ethnic minorities in the South, so. Is there anything? A problem? Fullerton shrank her neck in fear of the loud voice. Surprisingly, someone knows how to write your ghost name. I don't believe it. Rachel knelt suddenly. She wiped away her tears and then threw a gold coin into Mersley's palm, while the recipient of the money had a face that was on the verge of collapse, more terrifying than seeing her father's murderer. Fullerton adjusted his breathing and continued to write while asking, I hope the registered position is a mid-range shooter, right? Ha! Mersley looked down at the short spear he was holding tightly in his hand. Do I look like a marksman? Yes, I'm sorry. Because your right arm muscles are very developed, you should be accustomed to throwing javelins, right? If you make a mistake, I'm very sorry. You can no longer see Fullerton's neck. Rachel covered her face, Rachel cried, Rachel threw the second gold coin to Mersley again. On his face, choking up and muttering to herself, I don't believe. Mersley placed his hand on the identification crystal, and the identification result was a level 1 marksman. These 2 people are all beginners, and after detailed inquiries from Fullerton, it was confirmed that today is the first time they have been working as adventurers. In the guild, most of the commissions are posted on billboards. They looked at it and tore off an E.level task. Kill 5 slimes. This is a commission from the House of Councillors, located in the sewer of a well-maintained town center area, with the aim of controlling the number of slimes. Although slime has a positive effect on removing sewage, if it breeds too much, it can also cause trouble. They confidently handed the simple task of defeating Slim to Fullerton. Fullerton held the corners of the commission with both hands and hesitated, this task is a bit for you. Ah. Are you saying that we are not even capable of handling E.level tasks like dismissing slime? Ah. No, that's not what I meant. What do you mean, then? No, it's nothing. I'll handle it right away. Please come on. Mersley scratched his head, let out a sigh, and was then dragged away by Rachel's sleeve. This side said, "Don't scare the receptionist, strong orc." The other side said, "I never knew that speaking normally could add diuretic effects to others." Phaerton was not scared to pee, but it's also fast. Suddenly, Mersley was held down by Rachel's head, and the two of them crouched down to discuss something. Then, they turned back to look at Fielden, and their indescribable eyes made the receptionist tremble even more. Rachel turned her hands upside down and smiled, tilting her head to Phaelton while pleading, "Oh, receptionist sister, let's form a small team. Please. We've all decided on a team name. But we just made a bet that if my sister insists on refusing, my integrity will be ruined by that guy. However, Fielding still insists on the guild's rules." Mersley took a few steps forward. "Okay. Set up a team, right?" Fielding suddenly changed his mind, burying his head and quickly registering, even before Mersley opened his mouth. Maxley's face became even more foul-smelling, but Rachel clenched her little fist and made a winning gesture. "They are about to leave the Adventurer Guild Hall, are you going to do anything? A. Intervening in the task chosen by the two of them. B. Forget it as well as one. Intervention in approving the establishment of the team. 2. Forget it, end of this chapter. Chapter 4 Delay 22B1. The only team left behind. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Delay 2.2.B1. The only team left behind. You stepped forward and solemnly rejected the application to form a small team with only 2 people. You did not interfere with the task of treating and retreating slime. Yes, I'm sorry. Feuerton apologized to you by bowing repeatedly. Of course, she understood that she shouldn't violate guild rules, and any rule has its meaning. Rachel looked at you and asked Fielden, "Is this Your Excellency, President?" Rachel showed a desperate expression, wanting to say something more several times, but ultimately gave up on continuing to lobby for the establishment of the team. What kind of moral gamble did she make with Maxley? Perhaps only the parties involved knew, anyway. Rachel cried out not to do it, and was carried away by her tall companion on her shoulder. "I'm afraid, this world will have another evil magician." Coincidentally, the 2 of them walked outward and the 4 of them walked inward. The only D.level team with their registration information lying on the Adventurer Guild register, the Thorn Totem, appeared in the lobby. A team of 4 people consisting of 3 men and 1 woman, female archers, followed by single-handed swords, shields, single-handed swords, and spears, wearing leather armor that exudes a sense of team unity. They are different from the previous 2 rookies. Even when they come to take on missions, they are fully armed. Passing by, the man with a single-handed sword glanced at Mersley and Rachel, who were leaving the hall in a noisy manner, and muttered, "Are you really young?" Fielden bowed slightly to the 4 adventurers and asked with a business smile, "Are you all members of the Thorn Totem, right? Welcome very much." 3 people stood straight in front of the bulletin board to check the mission, while the shield sword man came to Fielden and said, "Hello receptionist, I'm the captain. Do you have any suitable tasks for us?" The word "suitable" has been emphasized. Phaerton naturally politely asked the captain to go to the bulletin board and choose the appropriate task on his own. At this moment, Hathaway stepped forward and whispered something to Feuerton. I think there might be a commission that's more suitable for the Thorn Totem." Feuerton suddenly changed her mind, as if she had just remembered yesterday's training content, and took out a commission form from the counter drawer. "Hello. Oh, here it is." The captain glanced at the commission form in his hand and called his companions over, while the other 3 left the bulletin board without hesitation. The captain touched the female archer's head and said, It's up to you. D.Level task. A warehouse has been robbed twice, with fur from the rat race left at the scene. Kill the prisoner or rat offender. Located in a commercial area with poor security. This is a commission sent by the guard team. They initially thought it was just an ordinary human or subhuman thief causing trouble, but it was obvious that they guessed wrong. Can we discuss increasing the commission fee for this commission? Said the shield sword man to Fielden. I think it is appropriate to classify this task as a D.Level intermediate upper level. Isn't this just an ordinary rat causing trouble? The captain spread his palm and said, Miss Receptionist is new here. Do you know the difference between rat and goblin? Fielden nodded. According to her understanding. In terms of combat attitude, the rat man tends to attack directly, while goblin rarely adopts a frontal confrontation and is more despicable. Although the difference is not significant, the strength of the rat man is slightly weaker than that of goblin, and he attacks and flees quickly, while goblin appears more persistent and unwilling to easily flee. The rat man is accustomed to grinding his own bone knives or other inferior weapons, and even sewing protective gear that is not much stronger than patched rags. However, goblins actively engage in any production, and the vast majority of equipment relies on looting. The captain appeared somewhat surprised upon hearing this. Since you know, the receptionist lady should also be aware, right? She has lost hair, so it is determined that she is a rat man. However, rat man does not have such high stealth mobility, and it is difficult for him to not be caught in two thefts and trigger a battle. This is not an ordinary rat man, but it is likely that he is an elite assassin among the rat men. Fielden nodded. Miss, assassin, haven't you seen him before? He's a fierce and agile bastard. Shouldn't he raise his salary a bit? Fielden shook his head and said, to reiterate, I think this commission level determination is very appropriate. Even if it is possible that the culprit is a sewer running rat, it will be difficult to deal with the four adventurers. It is expected to actively attack you, appear, defeat one of your companions, and be killed in time. The D.Level team, Thorn Totem, should have this level of ability. No, our advantage lies in having more people, but even the running rat in the sewer can be covered by other ordinary rodents. How can we act alone? At least, there is only one sewer running rat, and there aren't too many other ordinary rodents. They are very greedy, and as many people share the spoils, there will be less. You haven't seen its pair of poison daggers, have you? If there are other professions, there may be risks, but you are 3 warriors and 1 shooter. After a few more friendly negotiations, the captain sighed and shrugged, then turned around and shook his head at his companions with a smile. I plan to give up. Suddenly, the man with a long spear patted the captain's shoulder and pointed at himself with his thumb. The one-handed swordsman immediately expressed dissatisfaction, but the captain said it's okay. However, you have always been responsible for entrusted negotiations, Captain. It's okay, he has his own considerations. The man with a long spear broke the team's usual mode of action and volunteered to stand in front of the counter. Before the negotiation, he clung his long spear to the floor and nothing happened, but when he lifted out a small net pinned behind his waist and gently shook it in his low-hanging left hand, Fielden's face turned pale, and his eyes drifted to the side. The man with the spear said, "This commission is very dangerous, please increase the reward." Yes, it makes sense to think about it, said Fielden. So she lowered her head and began to modify the entrusted registration. Feeling satisfied, the Thorn Totem wanted to turn around and leave. Are you going to do anything? A. Interference with task compensation matters. B. Forget it, end of this chapter. Chapter 5 Heavy 23A. Julongting Tavern. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 5. Heavy 2.3 Julongting Tavern. You solemnly refuse to increase the task reward. Yes, I'm sorry, President, Fielden apologized to you by bowing repeatedly. The shield sword man looked at the one-handed sword man and the female archer, as if no one was planning to continue negotiating. The new president seems to be a tough person. It could also be a case of being open-minded when it comes to money. Neither one can stay long, hee. Thorn Totem turned around and left after chatting and laughing a few words. It was difficult to distinguish whether their expressions were sullen or indifferent. The only thing certain was that one of the four was mute. The Adventurers Guild opens at 6 a.m. and closes at 6 p.m., with little change even in seasons. At noon, there is no rest, which means that employees do not include you. The actual business situation is similar to what was expected, very quiet. Because only 2 rookies came to register and pick up the task with the Thorn Totem all morning, Hathaway was very free, so Hathaway began to chat with Fieldtine gradually. In front of you, there are 2 quite normal young girls. One with polite and gentle language, and the other with fluent and intellectual speech. What's important is that the latter actually has the courage to expose her neck. The dishes are well balanced. Did you prepare them yourself? Cooking is a very happy thing. Fielding silently opened the bento he had prepared in advance. A light blue floral cotton cloth wrapped around a sky blue wooden lunchbox, with meat and vegetables, and a blueberry at the top of the bento. When she tore open the bread with her little hands, she was surprised to see blueberries crowded inside, so many that it even made people wonder whether it was blueberry bread or bread blueberries. Silently, she took out another bottle of blue potion from her small bag. Definitely a large bottle of magic potion, but perhaps the liquid inside was just Hathaway left Fieldtine's side and came to you. Silently, staring at you without speaking, and then not knowing where to come from, someone's out-of-town accent may also be Hathaway's ventriloquism. Hathaway looked at you seriously. President, the Dragon Pavilion across from you is a tavern that adventurers often go to. Before you make the entire guild deserted, it is my responsibility to order a glass of wine and a table full of delicious food there to disguise as ordinary guests, and then gather information about everyone's opinions on the guild, market rumors, monsters, and potential newcomers. Don't worry, if you don't have an appetite, I will be responsible for solving it together. Across from the Adventurer Guild Hall is a tavern called Dragon Pavilion. During the prosperity of the guild, the Dragon Pavilion was once crowded with countless excellent adventurers, full of dreams and hope. Nowadays, more and more are ordinary guests, as well as the original adventurers who take on private work here. There are always some people who need to make a living, and there are always tasks that cannot be transferred solely by you, regardless of the survival of the guild. Squeak, you push open the door of the Dragon Pavilion. Before entering, I had already seen 2 familiar figures through the glass of the door. Rachel and Maxily. Their faces don't seem to be very good, especially Rachel. With her elbows resting on the table and her forehead weakly in her palm, Rachel whispered. I treat you like a friend, and you actually slept with me. It's a miracle that your parents are still built on this kind of gambling luck. Although he said so, Maxily's face was full of clouds, completely different from just holding a beautiful woman. It's really strange. It's so strange. What? Your face didn't scare Slim away. Maxily stood up and was about to leave when Rachel grabbed his belt and shouted, I was wrong. Maxily showed a seemingly angry expression, and Rachel's mood worsened. After a while, Rachel repaired her knife and said. All the money has been lost. Before leaving, you should at least pay for the meal. I was wrong. She immediately grabbed Maxily's belt and prevented him from getting up and leaving. With her face buried deep in her arms and lying on the table, Rachel cried. What? I had already thought of a team name. It's so domineering to be called the Golden Crown. We'll eventually become legends of adventurers. Really, that president. Mersley held his cheek with one hand and looked far away, saying, gold is suitable, but the crown is not. Oh no, Rachel suddenly felt nauseous after listening. Now it seems that fortunately there was no team formed, otherwise the team name would have to be changed. Golden. Mask. Evil. No, stop talking, stop talking. Rachel's retching became even more severe after hearing this, and she turned her body to the side, almost spitting out. Her face even turned a little green. She looked very painful, wiped the corners of her mouth, adjusted her chaotic breathing, and finally handed over all her weight to the back of the chair, staring silently at a stain on the ceiling. "You're a bit too early to be happy," said Mersley as he pinched his fingers and calculated, "How could it be yours? Whose is that?" "It's Slime's." "No." Rachel stood up and slapped the table vigorously with her palm, causing the almost untouched plates to jingle. "That's right. I did know in advance that these slimes wandering in the sewer were intentionally released by the House of Councillors to clean up town dirt, but no one told me. Their taste is also golden. My tongue, nose, and even deep in my throat are still alive. Ah, can I cry?" Mersley touched Rachel's head. Rachel clapped the other person's hand away. "If it's my man, you should take good care of me, really," Rachel said, tears streaming down her face. "Why does slime suddenly jump up? Why does slime suddenly stick to my face? Why does slime try to get into my mouth and nose? Next time, you'll be responsible for tasting their taste," sobbing. "I didn't expect the javelin to be completely ineffective against Slim." Later, the torch was even shot down by a vampire bat and fell into the sewage, said Mersley, covering his face with both hands. "The attack-type spells I only prepared are not enough. It's good to be able to come back alive. There are still 2 left. Fortunately, the mission has no time limit and can only continue tomorrow." Rachel was halfway through her words when she suddenly regained her energy and looked up at Mersley. "Alternatively, I can prepare the spell tonight and go again tonight." "Pa." Just finished speaking, Rachel slapped herself in the face and continued to lie on the table feeling depressed. Speaking in unison, they muttered, "We need a companion, at least another front row or a mage." It seemed very tacit. It seems that Maxwell and Rachel have no appetite for this lunch, especially Rachel. Hathaway ordered a more expensive meal and then focused on eating in an elegant way comparable to that of a noble daughter. Although she savored it with one knife and one hand, she felt like a wolf in sheep's clothing cruelly gnawing on bare meat. How to describe it as an elegant yet imposing way of eating? A drop of oil stains splattered on the glasses. Yusho put down her fork and pointed to the counter of the tavern. "Oh, that's the boss, and it's also our competitor. The old taro beetle, who used to have a big head and a messy beard when the 3 presidents were in office, secretly transferred various tasks mainly from the market here. Now, it's even more blatant," Hathaway said as she lowered her head and ate, as if she had 2 mouths. "We have no right to stop his behavior, we can only compete fairly." Did I just say fair competition? Correction. Strength crushes that old taro beetle. We have 2 absolute advantages that he does not have. The commissions from the Guard and the Council will only be handed over to our legitimate adventurer guild, which is also the main reason why the Thorn Totem will stay. The commissions sent by the Guard and the Council are mostly more valuable than those in the market, both in terms of money and reputation returns. You nod. Do you understand? The market, the Guard team, and the Council are the 3 main sources of task delegation. You nod. Do you really understand? You nod and then nod. Hathaway wiped her mouth and gave you a cold smile. She pointed her finger at your side and back behind her imperceptible sleeve and whispered, "Respected President, if you die, I will hire someone to paint your face rosy." Suddenly, a chubby hand rested on your shoulder. When you look back, it is a man who has fully absorbed nutrients, dressed in bright and luxurious clothing, and 3 huge gemstone rings on his fingers shimmering with dazzling light. "Hello, the new president." The man saluted you slightly with one hand touching your chest, but bit the word, "new president," hard. "It's an honor to meet you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cousin of the speaker. Hathaway nodded imperceptibly, indicating that the other party was indeed the cousin of the mayor of this town. The president has many important personnel, so I have something to say directly. This person next to me is a level 6. Level 7. Baron Roberts Doug, a 7th level mage. He is very knowledgeable about casting spells and is also interested in becoming an adventurer. I wonder if the president is willing to take care of him. As the speaker's cousin smiled, he squeezed out a long hidden wrinkle on his chubby face. The Baron Roberts Doug in front of you is a thin, dark-haired man with a figure of about 1.7 meters and deep dark circles under his eyes. He only coughed 3 times within 2 minutes, and it seems that his physical condition is not very good. He wore an exaggerated blood-red high-quality robe, afraid that others would not know he was a mage, and his hands clenched the long cedar staff like supporting crutches. Perhaps if someone kicks the end of the staff, the Baron will fall to the floor together. Hathaway broke her silence and continued, "May I ask what the Baron has to say?" Cough cough, just register as an adventurer as an ordinary person. If you trust the speaker's cousin, the crystal appraisal is exempt. Nobles value privacy more than you ordinary people. Register directly, right? You're very polite, Miss Secretary. You haven't had a chance to respond to this matter yet, when a man wearing guard-style armor reached out to you from a distance from the entrance of the tavern to greet you. He is a burly man who is about 1.8 meters tall, very robust, and even has rough facial features in every move. With a bang, the burly man patted the upper arm of the speaker's cousin, perhaps not controlling his strength. The latter frowned deeply as the fat began to make a crisp sound. "Sir, it's been a long time since we last met. What's up? Are we discussing business with the president? Do I need to avoid it?" After receiving a silent response, the burly man turned to introduce himself to you. "President, meet me. I'm the vice captain of this city." The so-called vice captain naturally refers to the guard team and cannot be anything else. Hathaway nodded imperceptibly, indicating that the other party was indeed the deputy captain of the town's guard. The vice captain also brought a man along. He is only 1.65 meters tall and thin, with black circles under his eyes that stand out against his sharp little eyes. He shouldn't be wearing a scarf around his neck, it's more like a mask he just removed. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary cloak, but it is a fabric armor made of multiple layers of cotton fabric sewn together. The only and most expensive equipment that stands out from the crowd is shoes. The deputy captain of the guard extended his hand to you and introduced, "This is my brother-in-law, William. To put it bluntly, this bastard idles around all day and doesn't do anything serious. I either catch or don't catch him, it's a headache. At least he's also a level 7 thief. If the president can help take him in and do something serious, I can also give an explanation to the captain, and avoid my wife's fragmented thoughts. Thank you. I'll treat you to a drink another day. The deputy captain has already started thanking you before you agree." The 4 words, "please have a drink," sound perfunctory, and I'm afraid it won't be that day. Before you could reply, Hathaway whispered in her ear, "President, bring all the brain cells you've forgotten in your pants up to your neck. If there's no secret, the 2 of you can register on your own without relying on personal favors. Accepting them is troublesome, but if you dare to refuse, it will be even more troublesome. The Guardians are the official armed forces that control the entire town, but strictly speaking, the Adventurer Guild is just an intermediary organization operated by the people. The Guardians may have to find excuses to arrest adventurers and put them in jail for hard work. The Council is responsible for approving most of our relevant procedures, including the upper limit on the number of employees. Did I mention that the Council allocates funds to us every week? Alright, now I have said so, think clearly. These 3 words are the advice that Hathaway left for you. Now 5 people and 10 eyes are all staring at you. A. Accept Baron Roberts Doug and reject William. B. Accept William and reject Baron Roberts Doug. C. All received. D. Refuse all. End of this chapter. Chapter 6 Light 24C. Threats from Dungeons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Light 2.4.c. Threats from Dungeons. You have accepted all the people introduced from both sides, and both the speaker's cousin and the vice captain are pleased about this. After a few words of effort, for some reason, things gradually evolved into 6 people eating and drinking together, even though it was already noon. Judging from this posture, you are definitely the one paying for it. With 2 snapping fingers, the speaker's cousin shouted to the waitress, "Open 2 bottles of 7-year wine from Frost Ridge Villa, and then bring a roasted whole lamb. Remember, lamb, don't put vanilla in your belly. Is Jessica here? Let her cook by herself. A bucket of beer." The vice captain sat beside you with a thud, his left hand resting on your shoulder, and his right hand hugging his brother in Law William's neck in a posture that almost prevented him from escaping. Perhaps a little force will twist and break the neck bone. William pushed the wooden large wine glass, but in the end it was half-jokingly poured in by the vice captain. Vaguely, you heard a sentence, "Dare not give me face." The deputy captain began to talk loudly about the military and security of the entire kingdom. At first glance, it was just bragging, but upon closer inspection, it was actually bragging. However, this rough man had a little more knowledge than expected. Baron Roberts Doug drank a few glasses of wine, his eyes regained vitality, his face gradually turned red, and the skeleton of his shoulders even widened a bit. He whispered to the speaker's cousin in a whisper. The speaker's cousin nodded and snapped his finger, "Tell the boss to call a pretty one over and sit down together. Waiter. Give the Baron a drunken and blind elf." The deputy captain said and chuckled on his own. The speaker's cousin suddenly turned extremely ugly. After enduring it for a while, he also began to shout, "Waiter. Bring a bucket of angel dust," to the deputy captain's uncle. It's the deputy captain's turn to turn blue and purple on his face. "Today, I will save face for the president and not argue with you. Mutual. Follow the president well, even if you cause trouble, your sister won't be able to protect you. Baron, I'll bid farewell first. The taste here is not very pleasant. Breaking up unhappily is a matter of time, but it shouldn't be so early, right?" The speaker's cousin and vice captain left one after another, leaving only a dead fish eye and a sickly seedling. Soon, a large plate of roasted whole lamb clanged in front of you. Soon, a cute and blindfolded elf girl was led over. Soon, a large wooden barrel filled with non-liquid was stuck on the sheep's horn. Soon, the bill also arrived, and the amount was extremely frightening before returning the girl and the wooden bucket. You packed the roasted whole lamb and brought it back, of course, for Hathaway's sake, of course, you also held it. At least Hathaway looks in a good mood. It's just a street distance, some things always happen so coincidentally. When you walk out of the gate of the Dragon Pavilion, with a whole roasted whole lamb in your arms, you find the pedestrians on the street looking up and pointing nervously. You also lifted your head and found a stone statue ghost. The distance is too far to distinguish clearly. You obtained the result through a detailed analysis afterwards, but at that time, people were panicked, running and crying because the appearance of the stone statue ghost looked very similar to a huge demon from afar. Horned, humanoid, and flapping a pair of bat wings. Due to the distance, insiders are not worried about being attacked. After circling over your town, the stone statue ghost turned back, leaving behind a large number of flyers dancing like snowflakes. "We are evil demon mages who have built an underground city deep in the southwest forest. Surrender to us, or destroy us. Wait for your envoys to come, or wait for our army." What is this? Is it a challenge book? Can a guy with a normal brain do this? Hathaway squeezed the flyer into a ball of paper, but quickly spread it out and put it into her pocket, murmuring, "I will send someone to investigate as soon as possible and see how much weight that guy who claims to be an evil wizard weighs." Returning to the Adventurer Guild Hall, Fearding registered new adventurers for Baron Roberts, Doug and William. William is indeed a level 7 thief, registered as a mid-level thief, and Baron Roberts, Doug, as promised, skipped the process of identifying crystals. He cannot lie about his own strength, because this kind of thing will eventually be helped by constantly taking on tasks, and he should also be a genuine level 7 mage. They were both registered as D. level, although according to regulations, they should start from E. level, but after all, they were introduced through personal connections. William took on an E. level simple task to eliminate 7 vampire bats, while Roberts Doug took on an E. level simple task to eliminate 7 goblins from the city. Although Fearding suggested that they should go together, they were ignored. One thing is concerning. Fearding is afraid of the Baron. Since Fearding did not engage in any behavior that violated guild rules due to his dominant attitude, you also did not have the opportunity to intervene. Strange, why did Fearding tremble without saying a few words to the Baron, but have no reaction to William, who was even more mischievous? Hathaway murmured to herself after seeing this. Hathaway may have used Fearding as some kind of detection device. The afternoon was very calm, so calm that no one stepped into the entrance of the guild hall. Time flew by and it closed. "President, you've worked hard. I'll go back first." "President, I also went to investigate the issue of the stone statue ghost distributing flyers at noon." Fearding and Hathaway closed the door of the hall and bid you farewell. "What are you planning to do?" A. Wave to Fearding, implying that she will stay and work overtime in your office at night. B. Wave to Hathaway and signal her to give a detailed work report in your office tonight. C. All stay. D. Forget it. End of this chapter. Chapter 7 Delay 31D. Guild Status. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Delay 3.1.D Guild Status. You watched the 2 women leave, then went to the Dragon Pavilion for some dinner and planned to rest early. After all, waiting for someone for a long time last night caused a lack of sleep. In a strange town, you haven't encountered any faces worth greeting. In your dream, you saw a strange omen. A witch wearing leather armor and holding a wooden round shield, leading 7 or 8 companions to lead the entire town to a huge victory in a battle. An inexplicable dream. In the morning, you open the drawer of your desk, which contains some information that Hathaway left there at some point. As you flipped through, Hathaway also happened to knock on the door, holding a steaming cup of imported coffee in her hand. Our main sources of commission are the Guard and the House of Counselors, who have provided fairly fair feedback on your new president. Hathaway explained the information in your hands. If we describe it based on rating values, 0 points will be used as the base value. Negative values indicate dislike for you, while positive values indicate optimism. Now, the Guard and the House of Counselors have an attitude towards you, which is about 4 points out of 100. What you are holding in your hand are more information about 2 adventurers with a 4-point value preference. Roberts Doug originally started as a slave merchant, but was later affected by the Kingdom's Slave Abolition Act, which led to his family's downfall. He was once trapped in his mansion by more than 30 farmers holding torches and almost died. Later, I bought the title of Baron and gradually calmed down the controversy. Although he has not joined the Adventurer Guild, he is still well known among other adventurers and is given the title of Slave Hunter Mage. He deliberately wanted to register as a formal adventurer this time for very simple reasons. The note states: kidney deficiency. You noticed that there was no more content to follow, so you looked up and asked Hathaway, what exactly is the purpose? Go see it yourself, Hathaway said to you. William's criminal record goes far beyond burglary, including insulting women, intentionally harming, damaging public facilities, organizing gambling, kidnapping, and smuggling prohibited items. Almost all of them have committed crimes except for not killing anyone. He was imprisoned 5 times, but the total time he spent in prison was less than 3 months, all because he had a good brother. In law. As William reached out to the hallucinogen, he finally reached the bottom line of the vice-captain's tolerance. Although not a member of the Adventurer Guild, it is still well known among other adventurers and is given the title of Holy Shadow. William was busy with a major case when he was pushed into the guild by his brother. In law, but was interrupted midway. The note states that one often has nightmares. You noticed that there was no more follow-up and looked up to ask Hathaway, what kind of big case is it? Go check it yourself. When Hathaway gave you this sentence, you didn't feel any surprise. Let me remind you, don't wait until something happens to put out the fire, said Hathaway, turning to leave and being stopped by you. She let out a deep sigh and looked at you with disdainful eyes, as if sympathizing. Baron Roberts Doug has always been obsessed with the issue of slaves, and it is feared that he will eventually violate the laws of the kingdom. Violations of slave-related laws should have been handled by the Guard, but the Baron now belongs to the Adventurers Guild. Do you think that if something really happens, will the Guard personally arrest someone and offend the council, or will they sit in front of you and reach out for someone? At that time, you must bring the Baron to justice and then offend the council. William has been exposed to hallucinogens once, and he will never be able to wash his hands. If something really happens, the House of Councillors will take the opportunity to use the crime of abuse of power to eradicate the deputy captain. Is it the Guard team specifically responsible for carrying out the arrest operation? No, it must be you, the president. If you handle it well, the deputy captain will hate you to death. If you don't handle it well, the captain will lose his right arm, and it may not be as easy as the deputy captain to hate you. After Hathaway finished speaking, she giggled at you and drew a cute little tiger on the paper. There is another little tiger next to the little tiger. There was a child with a runny nose and 2 eyes looking at him in different directions, with his left and right feet stepping on different tiger backs. An arrow points to the child, with the words, 4th Ren written on the other end of the arrow. Hathaway suddenly remembered something. Oh, by the way, there is a limit on the number of employees in the Adventurer Guild. Any legally registered organization, such as a guild, association, business alliance, or club, must be reviewed and graded by the council to limit its size. Simply put, if you do well, you can expand your scale, and a vegetarian meal for the dead will be banned. There is no need to worry about the latter, as the guild size is gradually shrinking. This has never happened before. You won't become the first person to create a world, probably. At present, the rated membership in the guild is 5 people, which is the smallest size. You, I, Linda, and Fielden still have 1 vacant seat. Tonight evening, we can go to the market to take a look and see if there is a suitable 5th employee. You ask Hathaway, who is Linda? Hathaway gave you a hard cut with a look of disbelief. You don't even know Linda. No, that. Who is Linda? To be honest. You flipped through the information in your hand and found that the final one was the bill. Excluding various stable expenses such as rent and salary, as well as the weekly fixed expenses of the council, there is still a surplus. Hathaway seemed to be afraid that you wouldn't be able to understand the numerous and lengthy account details, so she wrote in the final note. Currently, the balance of income and expenditure is +1 per week. Is this one referring to 1 gold coin or 10,000 gold coins? Is Hathaway's remark considerate or the amount you can freely dispose of 0.50 gold coins? If we have a good relationship with the market, they sometimes offer relatively rare products, including high-quality enchanted equipment, tamed monsters, etc. Hathaway crossed her fingers left and right, adding, if the guard team is in a good mood, they are willing to introduce some retired or injured guards to be adventurers, and occasionally even introduce us to a few reclusive extraterrestrial experts. Hathaway drew a triangle to briefly illustrate the connection between the 3 forces. Council Hall. Expand the size of the guild, allocate funds on a weekly basis, and if you are unhappy, the allocation will decrease. Guard team. Adventurers can be introduced, and if they are unhappy, they will abuse their power and take them to jail. Market. Can trade rare commodities, can trade invisible intelligence, will send assassins to assassinate you urgently. Her drawing is too simple, I'm afraid the actual situation may differ, otherwise the first 3 presidents would not have lived unjustly or died absurdly. Regarding the issue of weekly income and expenditure +1, you can expand it to A. Employee bathroom. B. Employee private dormitory. C. Data room. D. Keep hiring new employees. Employees, 4/5. President, Secretary, Commissioned Investigator, Receptionist. Reputation. 0 activity funds. 50 gold weekly income and expenditure +1 attitude of the council. 4 out of 100 attitude of the guard team. 4 out of 100 market attitude. 0 out of 100 registered adventurers. 1 team, 8 people. D. Level, Thorn Totem, 4-person team. D. Level, Slave Hunter Wizard Roberts Doug, 7. Level Mage. Favored by the Council Hall. D. Level, Holy Shadow William, Level 7 Thieves. The Guardians prefer it. E. Level, Rachel, Level 1 Mage. E. Level, Maxley, 1st level Marksman. End of this chapter. Chapter 8 Slow 32a. A Knife in the Stomach. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Slow 3.2a. A Knife in the Stomach. You have decided to expand an employee bathroom. For this measure to improve employee benefits, Hathaway naturally raised her hands in favor. Just renovate and reinstall it, and it will be ready for use around tomorrow. A new day has arrived. Before the Adventurers Guild opened, all members of the Thorn Totem were waiting outside the door. As always fully armed, the man with a long spear was injured in the abdomen, tightly wrapped in a bandage, and his face looked ugly. Done. The long spear man replaced the captain and threw the cloth bag containing the head of the rat man on the counter with a thud. Although it is not necessary to treat the first level of the goal as proof of completing the task, it would be better if submitted. Xian, thank you for your hard work. Fielding opened the cloth bag, confirmed the proof, put it in the counter, grabbed the feather pen, and started recording. Please report the task details. The other 3 members did not seek new commissions in front of the public notice board. Thorn Totem is a mature team with its own work rhythm. No matter what kind of commission it is, it will definitely take a day off after completion, and there will be more injuries and other situations. So they lived to this day. Pointing to his stomach, the man with the long spear raised one corner of his mouth, as if with a bitter smile, and said, "You see, I've been injured. Overall, I'm lucky. The other party only has a few mice, and there's only one running mouse in the sewer." The other 4 people gathered over. We hid in the designated warehouse and began to guard from nightfall. Around 10 o'clock, the last staff member of the warehouse also left and locked the warehouse door as if we didn't exist. Around 1:30 in the morning, we heard the unique murmur of rats running in the sewer. That is to say, we can preliminarily rule out the suspicion of warehouse employees eating inside and outside, right? It should have nothing to do with humans, so we can conclude it this way. The shield sword man, who was the captain, praised the female archer and touched her head. The gut-running rat speculated to have appeared from the nearest sewer outside the warehouse, and then crawled in through a 3-meter-high window, opened the back door, and let in 5 ordinary rodents. With one arrow, my archer accurately hit the back of the gut-running rat. The man with a single-handed sword continued, there is a huge difference in their equipment. 5 ordinary rodents hold daggers made from scrap iron, wearing worn-out cloth clothes, but there is a homemade leather armor embedded with iron plates on the inside of the cloak of the running rodent in the sewer. The first arrow did not kill. So I went with the captain to fight against the ordinary rodents who came rushing towards them when they heard the sound. Is this injury? The sewer-running rat quickly moved on the beams and top of the cargo box in the warehouse, causing us to lose direction. When it reappeared, it suddenly flew towards the archer. The spearman chuckled bitterly. I threw out the net in time and caught it in mid-air. We heard the archer's exclamation, so we quickly went back to defense and had one of the squirrels pass by, stabbing the spear-bearer. The captain's expression was filled with guilt. Fielding carefully recorded, thinking about it, inquire. Do you think the sewer-running rat comes from a stronger clan? Intuitive judgment is also good. May I share my thoughts? Almost. It can definitely kill B.level lone adventurers in seconds, the spearman thought for a moment and replied, except for leather armor, all other equipment is made by the rat people themselves, and that pair of daggers also comes with low.level sharp magic. Irresponsibly speaking, perhaps the gully-running rat came from a distant clan here to catch local ordinary rat people as accomplices. So we said at the time, it's very dangerous and we should increase our pay. The man with the spear complained so much. After listening to this, Fielding hesitated and his eyes began to wander and dodge. This task comes from the guard team. The thorn totem earned 4 gold and 2 poisoned enchanted daggers worth around 2 gold. The Adventurer Guild draws about 30% of the task rewards and earns 2 gold. According to Hathaway's estimation, the attitude of the guard towards the guild is +2. Finally, Fielding asked the man with the spear a question. Excuse me, why don't you go and receive treatment from the priest? This little injury, just spit and foam. The task commission report is completed, and the thorn totem is leaving. According to tradition, they will take a day off and come back tomorrow. What are you planning to do? A. Interference with their fixed rest. B. Forget it. Oh, by the way. The captain suddenly remembered something and said to Fielding, last night before we went to guard the warehouse, we met a strange witch. We promised to introduce her to become an adventurer here. It's probably coming soon. Just finished speaking, 2 teenagers entered the hall together. They both carried a wooden shield on their backs, with short swords hanging from their waist, constantly looking around as if everything was fresh. After seeing the thorn totem, the 2 of them were slightly excited and immediately approached, saying, Senior, are you adventurers? Can we join your team? The air remained silent for 3 or 4 seconds. Around noon, there will be a man and a woman coming to hand in the task. You can try asking them both, the captain snorted. I think you would be very suitable for forming a team. Killing Slim with a javelin is indeed a master among the masters, hee. At least they can handle it very well in their team, right? The 4 of them laughed, and the 2 newcomers were already bewildered before registering with Fielding. No, although they didn't understand, they also laughed along with the seniors, and a relaxed and happy atmosphere filled the hall. Looking at this development trend, these 2 beginners will really follow the advice and join Rachel and Maxwell's team. 1. Intervention Team Recommendation. 2. Forget it. Employees, April 5th. President, Secretary, Commissioned Investigator, Receptionist. Reputation. 2 Activity Funds. 52 yuan weekly income and expenditure plus 1 attitude of the council. 4 out of 100 attitude of the guard team. 6 out of 100 market attitude. 0 out of 100 registered adventurers. 1 team, 8 people. D.level, Thorn Totem, 4-person team. D.level, Slave Hunter Wizard Roberts Doug, 7.level Mage. Favored by the Council Hall. D.level, Holy Shadow William, level 7 Thieves. The Guardians prefer it. E.level, Rachel, level 1 Mage. E.level, Maxley, 1st level Marksman. End of this chapter. Chapter 9 Slow 33b2. Which Laurie? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9 Slow 3.3.b2. Which Laurie? You silently watched everything happen, watched the thorn totem leave, watched the 2 teenagers stay in the hall waiting for the upcoming Rachel and Maxley. That couple didn't come, but 7 people came. The leading woman fits the image described in the thorn totem, indicating that she is the witch. The so-called witches are generally considered as special beings between demons and humans in this world. They can maintain their youth and possess strange abilities that distinguish them from ordinary spellcasters, such as flying and refining secret medicines. Due to its energy mainly coming from demons who sign contracts, its identity is basically a demonized version of a deity. Most of them belong to the evil camp, but after all, hearts grow in people, and there are also kind-hearted witches. In short, many people have never seen a witch in their lifetime. President, do you want to buy secret medicine? There is a girl in front of you dressed as a low-level warrior, claiming to be a witch, similar to someone who sells wild medicine through door-to-door sales. Red hair, light freckles, large breasts, delicate facial features, it seems like there are no other adjectives. The so-called witch is generally considered to be promiscuous in this world, living by sucking on men's essence and blood, being good at seduction, and often using seduction as a weapon. President. They come all the way to pursue you, why don't they say anything? They're not interested in the secret medicine. What about them? There's a little girl in front of you who's imitating mature women's playful behavior, and an indescribable sense of discord is exploding. The so-called witches are often rumored to be skilled in divination and predicting the future. In history, they have always been insightful and have been in charge of the operation of various things behind the scenes. However, you are exactly the same as what others saw in their dreams, so handsome. This girl who claims to be a witch is just a red-haired warrior no matter how she looks, followed by 6 little brothers behind her. What did she come for? Excuse me, miss, are you here to register as an adventurer? Fullerton obviously had the same question and gently tore the witch off your body. The witch tilted her head and repeated, register. The thorn totem once said, through introduction, you will come here soon. The witch tilted her head and repeated, introduction. Have you never encountered a team of 4 adventurers? 3 warriors and 1 archer. The witch held her arms and tilted her head, sinking into memories. I did ask them for directions. I asked him where he was, and they told me he was the president here. He refers to you. After listening to this, Fullerton nodded and said, I understand. Welcome. Please place your hand on the appraisal crystal. Our guild has the obligation to protect your privacy information and also has the right to keep more detailed personal information about you. The witch placed her hand on the appraisal crystal with a bewildered expression on her face. Lomi Hernandez is a level 3 witch who signs a contract with the demon Asmod. So, is it okay to register as the initial E-level adventurer? Fullerton confirmed with a feather pen, no, wait. The witch immediately raised her hand to stop, I'm not here to register as an adventurer. Didn't you introduce yourself to the thorn totem? Yeah. Didn't you come to find the president? Yeah. Have you registered as an adventurer before? No, there isn't. Fullerton nodded and picked up his pen. Got it, then, can we register as the initial E-level adventurer? After listening, Lomi leaned on his forehead with one hand and stopped Fullerton from continuing with the other hand. Murmured, wait a minute, let me sort things out. Things seem a bit chaotic. I asked the thorn totem for directions and did come to find the president, but based on being responsible for your safety, I strongly recommend that you start as an E-level adventurer, and for other matters after that, you can slowly communicate with the president. Fullerton appeared very persistent. Is that right? Lomi scratched his head and signed on the registration information. So, she became an E-level adventurer. Laurie was about to say something more to you, but Fullerton interrupted, excuse me, do those companions behind you also need to register? Ha, companion. The witch smiled, her legs crossed, her hands crossed, and her chin raised arrogantly. They are not companions, but my servants. I see, so I suggest you. Fullerton flipped through the materials at hand, form a team with the 2 adventurers behind you, is that okay? Speaking, Rachel and Maxley came in. Rachel looked smug as she walked almost sideways, while Mersey's face was gloomy and his left arm was bleeding from multiple areas, but it was only a minor skin injury. Sister. We're done. Humph, it's just 5 slimes, it's a small matter. After looking at Rachel with a lively demeanor and the injured maxilla, Fielding asked before inquiring about the mission details, "This is the witch Lomi, and the 2 warriors over there are Michael and Billy. They are both newly registered today. Would you like to form a team together?" "Hello seniors, I'm Michael from a nearby village." "Hello senior, Billy, it's this guy's friend and neighbor." "Rachel, I am a very powerful mage, A tall man who looks like an ogre is called Maxilla," Rachel introduced to her furrowed companion. The 4 new adventurers were delighted at first sight and quickly started chatting. From slaying dragons to killing gods, they laughed heroically 8 times within a minute. If there were a bard nearby, they would surely cry out of fear of unemployment. 2 minutes later, they had calmed down and carefully planned how to become S-level adventurers. Their expressions were as serious as discussing major issues of world survival, just like the truth. The 4 of them pulled Lomi into a small group, and Lomi struggled out like a drowning person. "That's not right. I'm here to find the president. Do you want to team up with the president?" "It's not. You don't like us." "It's not like." After a burst of enthusiastic cheers for the formation of the team, Lomi was once again embraced into the small group, lifted and thrown high, as if he had already won the world. In a blink of an eye, Lomi's expression changed rapidly, as if he had crushed a bottle of 5 flavors in his mouth and swallowed it again. He was conflicted, distressed, confused, delighted, shocked, and bewildered, and finally stopped at nothing more than grief. You see a humanoid meat block resembling the witch Lomi being repeatedly thrown towards the ceiling in the hands of the other 4. Suddenly, it reminds you of the secret stir-fried meat at the Dragon Pavilion. What are you planning to do before the situation becomes uncontrollable? A. Correct the misunderstanding of Lomi registering as an adventurer. B. Correct the misunderstanding of Lomi joining Rachel and other teams. C. Correct both. D. Laugh and watch from the sidelines. End of this chapter. Chapter 10 Slow 34C. The hardest man in the nearby area. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Slow 3.4.c. The hardest man in the nearby area, you have corrected both misunderstandings. Rachel and the 4 of them didn't mind this, after all, they had just completed their first adventure mission. To defeat 5 slimes, and made 2 promising new friends. At the moment of joy, there was no shortage of Lomi. Okay. To celebrate the birth of the future S-class adventurer team, I suggest going to the opposite, Dragon Pavilion, for a drink. Wow. What's the name of our team? Isn't the Golden Mask good? Ugh. Let's discuss again. Which senior is the captain? That depends on whether it's changed to a golden nose and mouth restraint or a golden orc face. Amidst the noise and laughter, the 4 of them left the Adventurer Guild Hall. Before leaving, they casually pulled out a commission from the bulletin board that was only available to teams at level E or above. To go to the nearby forest and eliminate the goblins that disturbed the village's farmland. The number of goblins was more than 3, but the specifics are unknown. Watching the departure of the Golden XX team, a sentence popped up on your left. It happened so suddenly, I couldn't stop it in time. On your right, a sentence popped up. Oh no, I forgot to prepare portraits of the 4 of them. 2 pairs of women murmured crisply like silver bells, pressing against your slightly painful stomach bag from side to side. It seemed like lunch could save a lot of money. It's not about Hathaway's business, but they have an inescapable relationship with their direct supervisor, Fullerton. Fullerton apologized to you by bowing repeatedly. I'm sorry, President, I didn't have time. The commission on the bulletin board is just like that, as long as the evaluation level or other conditions are met, anyone can reveal it on their own, it's not your fault. Hathaway interjected, according to statistics, only 30% of adventurers who can be promoted from E level to D level each year are dead, missing, frustrated, or disabled, which is much lower than 70% of those who are promoted from D to C. It's unclear what words they plan to engrave on the tombstone. Yeah, that person has already shown a dead face, the witch Lomi agreed. You guys keep an eye on Lomi, Laurie is staring at you. Ah, I'm sorry just now. Fullerton bowed deeply to Lomi. Thank you for breaking free. Laurie bowed deeply to you. Hathaway immediately bowed deeply to Fullerton and said, just join in the fun. In an instant, a bow formation in the shape of a bow appeared before your eyes, and everyone was waiting for you to complete this dead cycle. With a rustle, Hathaway muttered. An uninteresting man. With a particularly precise volume control that no one could hear except you and the mosquitoes. Lomi is actually not here to register as an adventurer, but has come all the way to find you. According to my divination, you are the strongest male creature within tens of thousands of kilometers that can resist the Asmod curse. If I want to cast a spell, I must absorb a man's life energy. Ordinary people who are sucked once will die mysteriously on the roadside, but you are different. If she sleeps, she will have bad luck. If she doesn't sleep, she will have no power. Be concise and concise. To put it nicely. Weak water takes a spoonful of 3,000, and you are her only one. To be practical. She has a dead mouse in her hand, and of course, throwing it into the sea is more harmonious than throwing it into a pot. You are that sea. I'm curious, how did Lomi predict in the vast kingdom of people that you are the perfect fit to be attracted by her? Laurie's answer is very simple and easy to understand. I'm a witch, right? The witch has a crystal ball, right? Crystal balls can be used for divination, right? As she spoke, Laurie began to publicly demonstrate her mysterious and extremely precise divination technique. Firstly, she needs to drop a drop of ink on the crystal ball, then, with a devout heart towards the devil, he threw the crystal ball high with both hands. Finally, the crystal ball rolled on the map of the kingdom with a thud. Wherever it rolled, it counted. A golem ball can draw 4 or 5 black dots on the blueprint, and Lomi only needs to travel one by one. However, she is lucky, except for a few places with illustrations and scales near the center of the ocean, the top of the snow mountain, the end of the desert, and the edge of the map. There is only one town like this. After hearing this, Hathaway and Fullerton became very interested and said, what about the name? How do you predict the name of the president? Can you actually demonstrate it? This. Lomi hesitated and seemed to have another hidden truth. With her right hand holding the hammer high and her left hand holding the crystal ball, she explained, smash it, and the fragments will form the name of the person I need to find, the more broken the better. Then the weapon in her hand was forcefully snatched away by Hathaway and Fullerton. Lomi is young and beautiful, and I request to sleep with you. Although it may seem awkward to have decided on tonight's itinerary early in the morning, since the fat is directly on your lips, whether you eat or not, you need to give a hearty sentence. Who will you try to keep by your side tonight? A. Lomi. B. Hathaway. C. Fullerton. D. Going to bed early is more important. Oh, by the way. Lomi suddenly remembered something and added, in return, I can help you make a secret medicine. The cost fee must be charged. The witch's potion is not the same as that of an ordinary mage. If you choose A, you can ask her for compensation for health, luck, money, and emotional distress. She sleeps with you and even gives you a gift. Everyone present seems to be the only one who feels like something is wrong. Regarding Fullerton. 1. Doctoral reception level 2 level 3 medication. 75 gold, for days, to improve the accuracy of commissioned grading. 2. Insight reception level 1 level 2. 49 gold, 3 days, deepen observation of the lobby. 3. Listening and reception level 1. 13 gold coins, 1 day, to deepen understanding of responsible adventurers, 4. Comfort reception level 1. 13 gold, 1 day, to resolve disputes in the lobby, 5. Level 1 delivery and reception. 13 gold coins, 1 day, politely ask the rogue or harasser to leave, 6. Warm reception level 1. 13 gold coins, 1 day, inspiring guide adventurers, confidently receiving her has temporarily rendered her unable to learn. Regarding Linda. 7. Task objective investigation level 1 to 2. 50 gold, 4 days. 8. Entrust causal investigation level 1 to 2. 50 gold, 4 days. 9. Task execution review level 1. 20 gold, 2 days. 10. Task environment investigation level 1. 20 gold, 2 days. 11. Entrusted source investigation level 1. 20 gold, 2 days. 12. Commission follow-up investigation level 1. 20 gold, 2 days. 13. Multi-party review of commission details level 1. 20 gold, 2 days. Regarding Hathaway. 14. Recruiting receptionist level 2-3. 317 gold, 7 days. 15. Recruiting front row adventurers at level 1. 25 gold, 2 days. 16. Recruiting middle row adventurers at level 1. 25 gold, 2 days. 17. Recruiting rear row adventurers at level 1. 25 gold, 2 days. 18. Team cohesion level 1-2. 322 gold, 7 days. 19. Conspiracy defense level 1-2. 314 gold, 7 days. 20. Conspiracy execution power level 1-2. 339 gold, 7 days. There are also some options where you are temporarily unable to pay the cost fee. The medication used to treat the middle to early stages of Phaerton's cancer. 1103 gold, 10 days. The drug used to treat the fear of Felton towards slave hunters in the late to middle stages of cancer. 1943 gold, 19 days. The medication for treating Linda's late to mid-stage invisible cancer. 2510 gold, 22 days. The medication for treating advanced to intermediate stage of Hathaway's tongue cancer. 99999 gold, 99 days. By the way, Hathaway's recruitment level for artists has reached max, and she must have sent away many people. End of this chapter.